Ken Anderson. You have a book here. Let me show folks what it is. It's called How to Change Your Drinking. And it's based on, as we've been discussing, harm reduction methodology, the harm reduction idea, which is interesting. It stands in stark contrast to what's been going on with, stands in stark contrast with what's been going on in the traditional drug treatment world. And we were discussing how that stark contrast has to do with basically accepting the fact that people have a right to decide if they want to do drugs or not. Am I accurate in saying that?
Yes, we respect individuals' rights to make their own choices.
Right.
And there are many different aspects of harm reduction. Some are in favor of legalizing drugs because that would reduce a lot of harms involved. Some people concentrate on disease prevention and work with needle exchange. We concentrate on alcohol. That's our specialty.
Sure.
Because that's where my background is, and I learned how to do harm reduction for myself. I started a support group. Our members have contributed many ideas that we've collected into this book, and our members are reporting great success rates.
And if you're interested, it's the hamsnetwork.com. .org.
Okay,
HAMSnetwork.org. HAMSnetwork.org.
Now, we were talking about, the alcohol traditionally. I mean, there was a period of and there's going to be a television series on this coming up on when alcohol was actually legally banned in America, and how that was the I guess the ultimate. So well. Yeah, that didn't work so well. What is are there what has grown out of that? Is America still fundamentally a country that's willing to conceive of or accept the idea that you can take something like alcohol and ban it by legally? I mean, is that possible?
Well, there are still people out there that want to stop all drinking. There are people that very strongly want to promote everyone should abstain from alcohol.
Yeah.
And there's even dry counties, I think, still in the South in a few areas.
There are dry counties.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. And but you don't think that that this is this part of the religious right? The folks who are the same folks who are in the Tea Party, they're not pushing for this kind of thing of like cracking down on alcohol. I mean, who's behind it now? I mean, and how is alcohol's a huge business? Is there anybody like in the days of Prohibition trying to shut down Anheuser-Busch, trying to shut down beer distributors and things like that? Is there anything like that happening in the same way you have with drugs? Other drugs than alcohol.
In terms of alcohol, also with drugs, the people that promote abstinence are on both the right and the left. And I mean, there are people on both the right and the left that promote harm reduction approach, or libertarians in particular are generally favorable of lax or eliminated drug laws. So there are people on all sides of the political spectrum, but to me it seems like there's people that want to tell other people what to do and how to live their lives. And that's what it's all about. And harm reduction is one of those things that we respect other people's rights to make their own choices.
Well, how about an organization like Mothers Against Drunk Driving? They seem to have really conquered the airwaves with their message, especially back in the 80s and early 90s.
But is that an anti-drinking group per se?
It's an interesting organization. The founder of that, Candy Leitner was her name. Is her name. She's still around. But she's no longer in charge. She resigned from the organization. Mothers Against Drunk Driving was originally very strongly focused exactly on drunk driving. But over the years, it shifted, and now it's anti-drinking.
Oh, really? Okay.
Really?
If you go on their website, they're funded by the automobile industry. Well, you can stop drinking, you can stop driving.
Right.
Standard on all.
Right.
Every car had this interlock. No one could.
You wouldn't be against that. That's
impossible.
Not something, but it still used to be said that why test your ability to do the job?
Well, exactly.
Well, very interesting, Ken Anderson. Let's. I'm just fascinated by this subject, and how are the.
Well, I'd like to talk about some specifics about harm reduction and alcohol, because people are more familiar with harm reduction about heroin generally. So what are some techniques, like specific techniques that you've garnered in the book that have helped people do well in changing their attitude or their behavior about drinking?
Well, we have 17 elements to our program, and we call them elements rather than steps because they are all optional. You don't have to do any of them.
And one doesn't precede another.
And you don't have to do them in any particular order.
Right.
If you can't make up your mind where to start, we say start with number one. But if one of the others appeals to you, you can start there. And the elements are to, number one, do a cost-benefit analysis of your drinking. This is writing out the pros and cons.
I bet that's fascinating.
People find this very helpful, and there's lots of research that says this is a very effective method for behavioral change. Mm-hmm. You write out the good points of your drinking and the bad points of your drinking the way it is now, and then the good points of the change you want to make. Maybe you want to quit. Maybe you want to cut down. Write down what's good about that. Write down what's bad about that. And be very consciously aware of both. Because, if you just try to write down a list of all the bad things, all the good things stay in your subconscious and they sneak up on you when you least
seem better than ever.
So, honestly, just be very honest and write down all the good and bad about
it's
where
like
you
the
are.
old pro-con list.
And where you want to be. It's pro-con list, yes. And then our number two, we ask people, choose a drinking goal. Do you want to be a safer drinker? Do you want to reduce drinking? Or do you want to quit? Well, of course, you can be safer and reduce both.
Right. They're not mutually exclusive.
And then three is to learn about risk ranking and rank your risks.
What does that mean exactly?
Well, we have some worksheets you can write down if you engage in any risky behaviors. Do you drink and drive? Do you drink on a work night and go to work hungover? Do you
drink and argue with people?
Drink and get in fights in bars. Do you have unprotected sex when you're drunk?
Mm-hmm.
Write them down, rank which are the most dangerous, which are the most problematic, and which you want to work on, and then...
Oh, that can help show you, maybe you better start working on this area.
Mm-hmm. And maybe you say, well, having a hangover Sunday morning, I can deal with that. It's not great, but...
Mm-hmm.
Picking up people whose names I can't remember a little harder.
But we say, the harms are in a hierarchy. Some are much worse than others. Work on the most problematic ones first. And then number four is to learn about the HAMS tools. There's a whole chapter of tools and strategies that various people worked out, and there's anything from eating before you drink so that your blood alcohol doesn't spike.
Shoot up,
Or if you have problems with alcohol withdrawal or with cirrhosis of the liver, some people will substitute marijuana and stop alcohol completely and just smoke marijuana instead. Mm-hmm. If you're in the state with medical marijuana, you might even get a prescription
to do that.
To do that. So it can be
I think it always helps to hear what other people do because it can give you an idea. Like you can look through the whole list and go, oh, wait a second, that would help me, or that's interesting to me. So I think it's good to have a collective of people putting in ideas.
Okay, and then we get to number five, and this is make a plan to achieve your drinking goal. And we encourage people to write them down. Lots of people, since we have the email group that's online, a lot of people write them in an email and send them to the group. And this is how the plan I want to have. I want to drink Saturday night and Friday night, not the other nights of the week. And this is what I want to try to do this week. So this is my change plan for this week. Then 6, we have alcohol-free time. Some people drink every day. They haven't had a day without drinking for years. And, getting some alcohol-free time, even one day of abstinence from alcohol, is a good place to start changing. Some people will say, well, I want to take a week off. I want to take off 2 weeks. I want to take off a month. I want to take off 6 months. But getting some time away from alcohol is really helpful to change your drinking habits for the better.
Take a break.
It's probably helpful to assess things, too, right?
Oh, absolutely. And then if you take a longer period, not just a day, if you take, say, a month, you get to encounter all these different situations where you drank, and you can discover new ways to deal with them without alcohol. So next time when you're drinking again, you can say, oh, well, I'm choosing not to drink today, so I'm going to deal with this situation this way. It gives you lots of...
Now, what do you say to people that say this just isn't possible? Like, you're wrong?
Well... It isn't possible for who? It isn't possible for you. Some people find abstinence is their best approach to something. And, there's nothing wrong with that. Some people find AA is very helpful to them. If you like AA and if it feels right for you, go ahead, go for it. We're not against any approach that's working for anybody.
Right.
We're in favor of everything. But I mean, research has shown that 12-step treatment programs just are not very effective at all. So it's not something to force on people against their will. It doesn't have a good effect.
Mm.
So, but yeah, I mean, myself, I've chosen to abstain from cigarettes because controlled cigarette smoking is not something that's just going to work for me. I like to have 1 or 2 cigars a month, but that's it for my nicotine. But that's so it's abstinence from cigarettes, it's harm reduction with nicotine. But I would have a very difficult time being a controlled cigarette smoker, smoking 1 a day. And I don't like them very much anyway.
What about the physical addictive properties? Do people, is this basically mind over matter? In a way, it sounds like some of the things, and I was discussing this with Andrew last time, is some of the things that Charlie Sheen was saying. Mm-hmm. And where he said, I can use my mind, my own power. Now, some people, laughed at that. But you're saying that, no, in fact, there's some truth to the fact that willpower can beat the chemical addiction.
Well, this is, once again, what the research says. The NIAAA published in 2009.
Who's that, just for people? The
National Institute on Alcoholism and Alcohol Abuse. It's the U.S. government.
Right.
So the U.S. government published that of the people that overcome alcohol dependence, alcoholism,
yes,
75% do it on their own, without AA, without formal treatment.
Okay. All right, so
that's the norm.
All right.
It's not the exception. The norm is to do it on your own.
Right. So most people don't have the benefit of the AA, and AA is what's the success rate? I've heard it's a low success rate. I mean, it's for some people it does work, but you're not talking about something that's been proven to work. Mm-hmm. As far as the goal of removing people from using alcohol entirely, if they get to the point where they want it.
Well, when we've tried to compare it with a control group that gets no treatment, it has about the same result as a no treatment control group. Of course, the studies we've had are people that were mandated by courts to attend AA.
Sure.
Or
so they might not want to do it.
They might not want to do it.
That's a key thing right there. Do you want to do it or not?
Or they might not be religious, and so they're not interested or don't agree with
right.
that kind of an approach. I mean, there are
they can rebel against
in the world.
Right.
Well, the research seems to say that forcing people into AA against their will doesn't do anything positive. People that choose it themselves because they feel it's a good fit, it probably works well for them.
Right. It gives them the support they need.
Exactly.
And a lot of it is support, is having the support there.
So
do folks come and ask you? Are you a writer and researcher? Do you actually meet and talk to people? Are you directly involved in doing more than research, or do you actually? I don't know if that's. I don't want to get into anywhere because I don't know what the requirements are. I mean, can anybody advise anybody about things like this, or do you need? Is there a way of even getting a psychological degree or some sort of training in this, or is it a self-made science?
That's a big question that you just asked.
Yeah, I know. It's like, and I'm totally supportive of this, and to me, it's just more proof that that the academic world does not encompass enough. It's like leaving too much out.
Well, I'm currently studying at the New School. I'm not taking classes at this point, but I am enrolled as a student in the New School, and I wrote this book while I was taking classes there.
Sure.
The New School is open to harm reduction ideas, and they talk about them.
Great. Great for the New School. Good for them.
It's a good place to go for that. And another thing I tell people, what I did was to actually be a volunteer.
Yeah.
Do needle exchange. That's a good way to learn it, to actually get involved. And while I was at the New School, I did a lot of research to get the grounding for this book, so that everything here is evidence-based.
Sure.
Everything we talk about here, every method we will talk about. Okay, these are the studies that have been done that shows that this technique is effective.
And you have that in the back. You have.
Let's give out the website again, because people that are interested need to be able to go somewhere and find out more.
And here now we can really see the book.
Yes, the website is hamsnetwork.org. The acronym HAMS, the H stands for harm reduction, the A is for abstinence from alcohol, the M is for moderate drinking, the S is support group for any positive change in your drinking habits, from safer drinking to reduced drinking to quitting altogether.
Right. And what would you say to somebody who's, it's funny because I was at an event just a little while ago, and someone was talking. I just happened to sit down, and they were talking exactly about how they just didn't want to stop drinking, but they wanted to cut their drinking down, and they've been trying so hard to do it. And I showed them. I just happened to have your book with me, and I showed them the book, and they got on their cell phone, and they looked it up on the internet and saved it to send to themselves. So they're probably going to get your book, but which shows you how people need help in this area and want to do exactly what you're talking about. What do you say to somebody, a young person like that?
Well, the first thing I say is look at our website. But I say, okay, here are some things that you can do. We mentioned a few of the elements already. Another one we didn't mention yet was tracking and charting your drinks. This is really helpful. First you have to learn what a standard drink is.
Right.
It's one regular beer or an ounce and a half of hard liquor. But write down on a calendar the amount you drink each day.
So keep track. Think about it. Think about your drinking and actually drink intelligently. Well, we have half a minute. Any last thoughts?
Well, please come visit our website, hemsnetwork.org. Join our support group if you're interested in changing your drinking. And we'll do everything we can to help you out.
All right, great. And so thanks a lot. And this book, people can learn more about the book on your website as well.
Yes,
it's
they
up
can
there,
get the
right?
book from our website.
Okay, excellent. So better is better. Thanks a lot, Ken, for coming on and for talking about this very interesting subject. We'll have to stay in touch with you and learn more about it in the future.
Okay, thank you for having me.
Very good.